Darth Sidious and Mace Windu stood as two of the most powerful figures in the galaxy, each representing the polar extremes of the Force. Sidious embodied the dark, insidious allure of the Sith, with his cunning manipulation and unparalleled mastery of the dark side. Windu, by contrast, symbolized the refined discipline of the Jedi, wielding his unique Vapad lightsaber form to channel darkness without succumbing to it. Their confrontation in the Chancellor's office marked a defining moment in the fall of the Jedi Order. But what if, instead of their first duel concluding with Anakin Skywalker's intervention, the two titans of the Force faced each other again, away from manipulation and betrayal, in a true test of skill and philosophy? Their rematch would hinge on the lessons learned from their first battle. Sidious, an unparalleled strategist, would likely analyze every detail of Windu's Vapad, the unorthodox lightsaber style that had nearly led to his defeat. Vapad, after all, was more than just a combat form. It was a mindset, one that allowed its user to accept and redirect the darkness of an opponent. For Windu, Sidious represented the ultimate challenge. The embodiment of the darkness Vapad was designed to confront. Knowing how close he had come to victory in their first encounter, Windu would return more determined than ever to end Sidious's reign of terror. The location of this rematch would play a pivotal role. Removed from the enclosed, precarious environment of Sidious's office, the battlefield would likely be a more neutral arena, devoid of environmental advantages for either combatant. Imagine them clashing in the ruins of a forgotten temple, the ancient echoes of the Force resonating through the stones, or perhaps aboard a starship in deep space, the emptiness of the galaxy pressing against the fragile shield of the vessel. In such a setting, the rematch would be defined purely by skill, determination, and the will to dominate. Sidious would undoubtedly open the duel with his characteristic ferocity, relying on the blistering speed and unpredictability of his movements. His lightsaber, a crimson blur, would weave through the air with lethal precision. Sidious's style, an unorthodox blend of Juyo and Makashi, would seek to overwhelm Windu through relentless assault, leveraging his deep connection to the dark side to amplify his physical capabilities. But Windu, armed with his mastery of Vapad, would respond with equal intensity, his amethyst blade meeting Sidious's strikes with a mixture of elegance and raw power. Windu's Vapad thrived in the presence of darkness, feeding on the energy of an opponent's rage and hatred. As Sidious unleashed his fury, Windu would grow stronger, his connection to the Force sharpening with each exchange. The duel would be a dazzling display of skill and philosophy, with Windu walking the razor's edge between light and dark, channeling Sidious's malevolence without succumbing to it. But Sidious, ever the master manipulator, would not rely solely on his lightsaber skills. He would weave the dark side into the fabric of the duel, unleashing bursts of Sith lightning and waves of raw hatred to destabilize Windu. In their first encounter, Windu had proven his ability to deflect Sidious's lightning with his lightsaber and even redirect it with his bare hands, a testament to his unparalleled mastery of the Force. In this rematch, Sidious would likely push these abilities to their limits, testing Windu's resilience with an unrelenting storm of energy. Yet, Windu's strength lay not only in his physical prowess but also in his indomitable will. His unwavering commitment to the Jedi Code and his belief in the righteousness of his cause would anchor him against Sidious's attempts to break him. The psychological dimension of the duel would be just as crucial as the physical. Sidious, with his mastery of deception and manipulation, would undoubtedly seek to undermine Windu's resolve, exploiting any hint of doubt or fear. He might taunt Windu with the failures of the Jedi Order, reminding him of the Order's inability to foresee the rise of the Sith or prevent the Clone Wars. He could even draw upon Windu's own inner struggles, attempting to exploit the fine line Windu walked in his use of Vapad. But Windu, disciplined and steadfast, would not be so easily swayed. His clarity of purpose, honed through years of service to the Jedi, would serve as a bulwark against Sidious's psychological onslaught. As the duel progressed, the two combatants would reach a level of intensity that transcended mere combat. The Force would swell around them, manifesting in waves of energy that shook the battlefield. Every strike, every parry, would resonate with the power of their convictions, each man fighting not just for survival but for the fate of the galaxy. Sidious would draw upon the depths of the dark side, his features twisted with malice as he unleashed torrents of energy. Windu, in turn, would channel the light and the dark, his mastery of Vapad allowing him to turn Sidious's power back against him. Ultimately, the outcome of the rematch would depend on a critical moment, a split-second decision that could tip the balance one way or the other. Sidious, always calculating, might attempt to exploit a moment of overconfidence or a brief lapse in Windu's defenses. Windu, ever the tactician, would look for an opening in Sidious's relentless aggression, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their battle would be a microcosm of the eternal struggle between light and dark, a test of whether the Jedi's discipline and resolve could triumph over the Sith's cunning and power. It is tempting to speculate that Windu, having come so close to defeating Sidious in their first encounter, would emerge victorious in the rematch. With no Anakin to intervene and no environmental hazards to complicate the duel, Windu's superior technique and mastery of Vapad might grant him the edge he needed to finally vanquish the Sith Lord. However, Sidious's unmatched cunning and adaptability cannot be underestimated. As a master of contingency, Sidious would undoubtedly have devised strategies to counter Windu's strengths and exploit his weaknesses. Their rematch would likely leave both combatants forever changed. For Sidious, it would be a rare moment of vulnerability, a reminder that even the most powerful Sith are not invincible. For Windu, it would be a reaffirmation of his commitment to the Jedi path, a test of his ability to confront and overcome the darkness without succumbing to it. Regardless of the outcome, their duel would be remembered as one of the most defining moments in the history of the galaxy, a clash between two of the most iconic figures in the Star Wars saga. As the duel wore on, the raw energy unleashed by Darth Sidious and Mace Windu would intensify, becoming an almost palpable force that distorted the air around them. Each strike of their lightsabers would be accompanied by bursts of light and sound, the collision of two ideologies given physical form. Windu's Vapad, a dance of precision and ferocity, would continue to match Sidious's brutal assault, both combatants pushing each other to the edge of their limits. Sidious, ever the tactician, would realize that sheer power and speed were not enough to overwhelm Windu. His mind would turn to deception, his greatest weapon. The Sith thrived on unpredictability, on turning the expected into the unthinkable. With a flick of his wrist, he might send his lightsaber flying on a seemingly wild trajectory, forcing Windu to anticipate and block the weapon's return path while Sidious closed in with a cascade of Sith lightning. Sidious's ability to shift seamlessly between physical combat and force attacks would strain Windu's focus, challenging him to adapt in the heat of battle. But Windu, tempered by years of combat and meditation, would not be easily caught off guard. His mastery of Vapad was more than just skill. It was an intuitive response to chaos, a deliberate embrace of unpredictability. As Sidious launched his cunning feints, Windu's blade would meet them with calm precision, his connection to the Force sharpening his reactions to a razor's edge. Each strike would seem almost effortless, a reflection of the inner balance that defined Windu's approach to combat. The environment itself might begin to react to the sheer magnitude of the power being unleashed. If they were in an ancient temple, the stones might crack and shift, the air thick with the weight of the Force. If aboard a starship, systems might fail under the strain, lights flickering as the duel pushed the ship's stability to its limits. Regardless of the setting, the stakes would remain the same, the future of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Sidious, realizing the fight was slipping from his control, might attempt to shift the tide through psychological warfare. His voice, laden with the sinister resonance of the dark side, would echo through the battlefield, taunting Windu with visions of the Jedi's downfall. He might conjure images of the temple burning, of Anakin's fall, or of the galaxy consumed by war, all meant to unnerve Windu and distract him from the battle at hand. For Sidious, the fight was as much about breaking his opponent's spirit as it was about defeating him physically. Windu, however, would stand resolute. His strength lay not only in his skill but in his unwavering faith in the Force. While Sidious drew upon fear, anger, and hatred, Windu's power was rooted in discipline and conviction. He would meet Sidious's taunts with silence, his focus unbroken. To Windu, The battle was not just a clash of lightsabers but a test of his ability to uphold the ideals of the Jedi Order, even in the face of the darkest opposition. As the duel reached its climax, both combatants would begin to show signs of strain. Sidious, despite his mastery of the dark side, was still bound by the limitations of his physical form. His strikes, though still deadly, would lose some of their initial speed and ferocity. Windu, too, would feel the weight of the prolonged battle, his every movement driven by sheer determination and a deep connection to the Force. The battlefield would bear the scars of their conflict, a testament to the ferocity of their struggle. In the decisive moment, it would be Windu's ability to adapt that might give him the upper hand. Sidious, for all his cunning, was ultimately reliant on the overwhelming power of the dark side. Windu's mastery of Vapad, combined with his understanding of the Sith's tactics, would allow him to anticipate Sidious's final gambit. With a single, precise strike, Windu might disarm Sidious, his amethyst blade slicing through the Sith Lord's defenses. But even in defeat, Sidious would not go quietly. His hands crackling with energy, he would unleash a final torrent of Sith lightning, a desperate attempt to turn the tide. Windu, his blade raised in defiance, would once again absorb the energy, redirecting it back at Sidious. The clash of power would illuminate the battlefield, a blinding light that marked the end of their conflict. If Windu were victorious, the galaxy's fate would shift dramatically. The death of Darth Sidious would mark the end of the Sith's plans, depriving the Empire of its architect. Without Sidious's influence, Anakin Skywalker might find a path back to the light, his destiny no longer bound by the machinations of the dark side. The Jedi Order, though wounded, could begin to rebuild, their survival a testament to the resilience of the light. Yet, one must also consider the possibility of Sidious's victory. If the Sith Lord managed to exploit a moment of weakness or manipulate the battlefield to his advantage, the consequences would be dire. Windu's fall would signal the final triumph of the Sith, solidifying their hold over the galaxy. Sidious, triumphant, would continue to shape the galaxy to his will, his rule unchallenged and absolute. Their rematch, regardless of its outcome, would stand as a defining moment in the eternal struggle between light and dark. It would not merely be a battle of strength but a contest of ideals, a test of whether the Jedi's discipline and compassion could overcome the Sith's cunning and malice. And while the outcome remains uncertain, one thing is clear. The clash between Darth Sidious and Mace Windu would echo through the annals of galactic history, a testament to the enduring power of the Force.